Hi everyone! How are you guys this evening? My name is Kayla Wolfe. I know I look a little bit different than normal, but today I've had a bad day. Have you guys ever had a bad day? Probably so. But today was one of those days that just was a really, really rough day. And that's okay, because we're going to have rough days. But the good news is, God will get us through it. You just have to keep pushing and keep trusting. So today we're going to read a story about that. I am unprepared. As you can see, my hair is wet. I will start with this funny story. So my sister and I were at the and my brother were at the cemetery this afternoon. My grandmother passed away early this morning, and we're grateful that she is in heaven with our Savior and is no longer in pain and hurt, and we're joyful in that. But we are still sinners and we are selfish, and we do miss her dearly. But anyway, we went to the cemetery to mark off her grave plots that she purchased like way back in the 60s, like super, super long time ago. So we get there, we thought it was going to be super simple and easy. We already kind of knew where they were. We were just going to stick some, little needle. Actually, they were knitting needles. We were just going to stick them in the yard really fast, tie a rope. We'd be good to go just to show them, where it needs to go. Well, that really wasn't the case. We actually had the wrong plots. And fortunately, we did find them. However, since they were in the ground so long, we were on our hands and knees crawling in the cemetery, digging with these knitting needles, just trying to find the right ones. We eventually found them, but man, it was what we thought was going to be a 20-minute job ended up to being almost 2 hours. And I literally had ants everywhere. So I came home and took a quick shower before I hopped on here. So, because I don't want to be crawling with ants. I don't think anybody likes that feeling. I'm not a bug person. Now, my daughter, on the other hand, doesn't mind them too much. So, let's see what we are going to read about. All right. Sorry, guys. I had this marked, and then I was silly, and I unmarked it because my daughter wanted to read a story. I do this often, guys. Okay. Whew. So, once again, I am reading from the Promises of God Storybook Bible. Love this. I can't speak out enough of it, good of it, not out against it. I love it. I do. I am a parent. I have read many, many children's books and Bibles, and I think this is one of my favorites. I do have a couple that I have not had yet to read, but I do love this one. I think it's a really great tool. Super awesome. Definitely check it out. Okay, so today we are reading, let's see here. Okay. God's plans are good even when things look bad. A sovereign promise. It was time Joseph faced his 10 brothers and told him he would let them go back home. He would send them with grain that they could buy, but they had to bring back their brother Benjamin back with them. To make sure they came back, Joseph was told to hold one brother, Simon, in prison. The brothers didn't know it, but Joseph had all their money placed in their bags with the grain. The brothers set out toward their homeland, and at first stop, one of them opened his bag and saw his money inside with the grain. They were so confused and wondered out loud what God was doing. When they got home and opened their sacks, they found money in each of them. The brothers weren't sure if they were being tricked into some way and punished for what they had done to Joseph, not just selling him into slavery, but also letting their father think he was dead. Their hearts were still so hard, but they feared God. They knew he was in control, and they knew they deserved punishment. Have you guys ever done that? Done something you know was wrong, but you knew you needed to fess up? You knew you needed to get in trouble. Get time out. I've been there. The brothers told their father all that had happened. They explained Pharaoh's man had imprisoned Simon and demanded they bring Benjamin back to Egypt. Joseph's father was not about to let them have Benjamin. He already lost Joseph and now Simon, and he feared he would lose Benjamin too. So here's our little pictures out of this page. Sorry guys, I was rushing this night. I'm not gonna lie, I was rushing it. Okay. Here we go. Next page. But when the grain ran out, Joseph's father gave up and told the brothers they can take Benjamin. But the father said they should also take a gift of honey and nuts back to Pharaoh's leader, along with double the money. They could tell the leader how the last money ended up in their sacks. The father pleaded with them to get Simon back and return with Benjamin too. The brothers did as their father asked, and soon were standing. Sorry guys, lost you there. My internet is going out. Let's try this again. The brothers did as their father asked, and were soon standing in front of Joseph once again. He saw Benjamin and knew they had been telling the truth. He had a meal prepared for them to eat together, and he began to ask about their father. When they said he was alive, Joseph was overwhelmed with happiness. He looked at Benjamin. Joseph was back together with all his brothers, yet he still wasn't sure if they could be trusted. So he decided they needed one more test. Joseph told his men to place a silver cup in Benjamin's bag. Then the next day he gathered the brothers and sent them back home along with Simon. But soon Joseph asked his servant to go after the brothers and stop them. The servant said, "Someone has stolen my master's silver, and whoever it is will have to become a servant in the house of Pharaoh forever." The brothers promised they had not stolen a thing, but when the cup was found in Benjamin's bag, they were all brought back before Joseph. Judah immediately began to plead with Joseph not to take Benjamin. He told Joseph how his father had already lost one son, and that his father would die if he lost Benjamin. He told Joseph that if someone must be taken as a servant, please take Judah and let Benjamin go home to their father. Joseph could not hide his feelings anymore. He told all his servants to leave, so it was only him and his brothers remained. Once they were alone, he immediately began to weep and cry out, "I am Joseph. Is my father Jacob truly still alive?" His brothers were first afraid because they knew what they had done to Joseph. But Joseph told them not to be afraid or upset. He believed God had sent him to Egypt to save their lives by being able to store the grain for the land. He said that it wasn't really his brothers who had sent him to Egypt, but God who had sent him there. He explained that God was in control of it and he had a great plan. Joseph sent the brothers back home with all sorts of food and told them to bring their father back. Joseph explained that he was now a man of great power and would be able to give them land in Egypt and take care of them like never before. His brothers did as he commanded, and when their father saw how Joseph had sent wagons of food and supplies, and when he realized his long-lost son was alive, the father's heart softened and he worshipped God with thankfulness like he had not in years. No one could have ever imagined Joseph's life was going to turn out when his brothers sold him. But God always knew, and God is always in charge. This is a grown-up, super important thing for you to know about God. He is sovereign, which means he is in charge of every single thing that happens. He isn't just in charge of what happened to Joseph. He is in charge of what happens in your plan of your life too. He already knows every single adventure he has planned for your whole life. Now this story can be found in Genesis 42 through 45, and here are our Bible questions. Number 1. Why did Judah volunteer to take Benjamin's place as a servant? Number 2. How do you think Joseph's brothers felt when they heard Joseph say he was not angry with them? Number 3. What do you think Joseph meant when he said that God was the one who sent him to Egypt? And number 4. Who stayed with Joseph all the way through this story and the one whom Joseph always listened? Well, I hope you guys enjoyed tonight's story. Once again, our key point here Hold on. Bible almost closed on me. Is God's plans are good even when things look bad. So just remember that. If you're having a bad day, God is still sovereign. He is still in control of every minute detail. Nothing is too small for God. Just remember that. And have a good night, and we'll see you tomorrow at 7:30. Have a great day.